WOCA.
Ocala.
5 minutes after 10 o'clock. It's just a beautiful Thursday morning. I hope you're enjoying listening to your radio. You know, radio is one of my favorite ways to have entertainment enter my life. I hope you're entertained and informed by what we do here. Right now, we're going to focus on the entertainment part of what this is about, and we like to reach across the aisle and talk to people who are creating venues, or not venues, but forms of entertainment. Brody Barcode is in the studio. We haven't met Brody before, but he is in the studio right now. He is, listen to this list of credentials, Robin. He's an actor, a director, a filmmaker. That means he's in front of the camera and behind the camera. He's a good-looking guy, so I can see why he's in front of the camera. He's a filmmaker, which I guess goes without saying if you're a director. He's a music composer, so he can even write his own score, own soundtrack. And he's the founder of something called Code Wave Productions. And if that's all impressing you, then the last thing probably will impress you as well. He's here in Ocala. Yeah, he's not in Hollywood. He's right here. Probably should be in Hollywood. But he's got some upcoming projects here in our area. And it's an honor to be able to say hi. Good morning, Brody Barcode. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Where do you live?
I'm actually living here in Ocala, Florida.
Wow. And
Yes,
did you grow up here?
Actually, I did grow up here. I spent, coming out of high school, I was in various punk rock bands, did a lot of electronica music. I wasn't so much involved in film as much as I was in music and just playing countless shows. And after high school, I ended up moving down to Orlando and went to Full Sail.
Uh-huh.
While I was at Full Sail, I started studying research in music therapy, and which was kind of odd because it started shifting gears for me personally.
Music therapy?
Music therapy,
okay.
Yes, sir. And long story short, the music therapy route actually led me into the medical field. And it was kind of funny because I spent about, almost 9 solid years in the nursing medical field following my exit from Full Sail, which all I was doing at Full Sail was, production, music, meeting, working with filmmakers. And so after a 9-year run of just nonstop work in the medical field, nursing field, I 2 years ago, unfortunately, I was in a really horrible automobile accident.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and due to the injuries that I sustained from the automobile accident, I had to step down from the field. I had to step down from the nursing medical field altogether.
Oh, wow.
And the one fortunate side to it, though, during the last 2 years of just going through the physical therapy, dealing with the lawyers, dealing with the doctors, all of that, kind of being confined to my flat that I have up here, I just put all of my time, all of my attention, all of my focus back into the music, back into production. Met a really wonderful lady, Erica Summers, who I believe you folks have actually had on your show before, who's a filmmaker here. And I got involved with her production, her crew, started doing music and soundtracking for her film. Next thing you know, I found myself working also in front of the camera because she was like, "Oh yeah, I got an acting role."
Need an actor, huh?
Yeah, so we're gonna put you in front of.
So was acting something that you?
I've always loved to act.
Okay,
I mean, everything leading up and even through Full Sail. I mean, it was always entertainment.
You know what I've wondered about acting, and I don't know much about it, but it seems like in our community, which is pretty much all I know, the actors who are in films. Mm-hmm. Are not the actors like at the Ocala Civic Theater, and vice versa. Am I seeing it wrong, or is that pretty much the way it is?
Yeah, and
is there a reason for that?
That's a really good question. I mean, for me, I've got some really good friends that do a good amount of theater, and then I've got my friends that are just specifically in front of the camera, and I don't know if that's just the pace of how it goes, being on stage and or being in front of the camera and all the stops and pauses, but I do have a couple friends that are back and forth. They
do both. Okay, so it's not exclusive.
Yeah.
So my view of it is not exactly accurate. I mean, there's a number of people that are.
I mean, there are
in theater. Yes. I mean, but even that in like Broadway versus Hollywood, it seems like some of them cross over, but most of them are not. They're either all Broadway or they're all Hollywood.
Right. I mean, if you think about like some big name guys, I mean, you got like your John Malkovich and your Gary Oldmans.
Right,
I mean,
right.
that, you know, of course, are back and forth. But yeah, I don't, like I said, I mean, for the majority of the people that I work with and associate with, it's pretty much, you know, they're more in front of the camera. And like I said, there are a few, but.
So tell me about directing. Do you like directing?
This is my first full-length feature film. I've done.
And what is it? What's the title?
333,
333.
Volume 2.
Okay.
It's actually a trilogy, the way that I'm writing it, the way that I'm setting it up. And I figured, why not start with the sequel first? Why not start right in the center? I've never been a real big fan of sequels, so and I figured, well, if anything happens, okay, it was my sequel. I got that out of the way. But the style of the film itself is I'm kind of going back to like the roots of like your gritty action thriller type films, like the grindhouse films of the 70s, and so I'm paying a lot of homage to that, I guess, if you will. Or even let's go 20 years back to like where Mr. Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, were putting films out like Desperado and Pulp Fiction, From Dusk Till Dawn, stories as such like that. So, but so far it's been just a crazy roller coaster. It's been a lot of fun.
Do you write the screenplay completely, or do you kind of do it in pieces as the film is being made?
Well, actually, we're right now in the developmental phase of the film. So we're leading into pre-production as far as getting our green lights from the producers, from the investors, getting ready to actually shoot that film. And right now, what I've been working on mainly is, of course, getting the cast and crew solidified. I'm writing the script. I'm scoring the music. I'm soundtracking singles for the film. So I kind of go back and forth. So let's say like, you're somewhere, let's say, I don't know, 20, 30 pages in, and you've got a sequence of events going on amongst the characters. For me, because I've always had so much music in my background, I'm actually hearing what that sound is going to play out like in the film. So I stop writing, and I pick up the guitars, I go down to the synthesizers and the drum machines, and I start building and composing the actual music. And then what I do is just to keep the fans and the audience that's going to, of course, be involved in this film, entertained and interested, I go ahead and put that music out. So, it keeps a good momentum going for, for building on the film.
And is that what gets you excited? Is it the music, or is it the whole project? Is it all the same as far as what pushes your buttons?
It's all of the above. It really, I mean, pretty much all of it pushes my buttons. There's so much.
You're very creative, in other words.
Well,
creativity is you. I mean, you are creativity.
Yeah, I mean, even the idea, if I backpedal for a second back to going into the nursing field, my whole concept with the music therapy studies and even entering the medical field at that time was, I wanted to bring the element of that music therapy and as a good holistic approach and form of good healing for patients. And so, that element of music and entertainment, minus the pain medications, minus all of that, just focusing on the music and sound, working with autistics, working with catatonic patients, Alzheimer patients. I mean, that was my whole approach.
And you watched it make a difference, right?
I did, and that it was what was further leading me in. However, one of the downer notes with the music therapy element was that you didn't see it as much in the field, and I don't know if that was just from a financial aspect.
And to get paid for that, I'm guessing that there were some caregivers who said, "What am I paying you? Are you paying you to play music?"
Right.
I'm guessing that was.
And not to sound coarse or anything, because that was exactly the area that I really wanted to go into.
Right.
But not finding really a job market of any sorts, next thing I knew, I found myself in nursing. But coming back up to speed where we're at now, yes, that element of the music for me, when you think of a film, or at least when I think of a film, it's 50-50. It's half music, and it's half what you see visually.
Oh yeah.
And not just the music, but the sound, the dialogue, those little steps going up the stairwell. Yeah, every little.
We've had this discussion before, Robin and I, that an adequate, mediocre story can seem like a wonderful, beautiful story if it's got the best music.
Right.
The other way around, if you have the greatest story ever, and the music is just terrible, it can ruin it.
Right. It's also it kind of, to me, like I said, I'm speaking for myself. Watching those type of films, it becomes just dry, and you're just. You know that it's missing something, and it's cool that you say that too. I mean, with regards to the element that it could be very minimal dialogue, or think back to like the 30s and the 20s, like short films. There was no dialogue, but you had music going that whole time, and it was exactly. It was just keeping you on the edge
kind
of your
glues
seats.
It together.
Right, exactly.
When you are casting this film, are you looking for seasoned actors that are part of the Screen Actors Guild for the lead roles, or are you pretty much open to anybody that doesn't have those kinds of credentials?
Well, that's a really good question too. I have a fantastic producer, Mr. Matt Chasson, who's out of LA, who came on board, and through speaking with him and just the kind of the dynamics of building this whole production, because it has been months and months as far as in the works. That was a big thing that we discussed, and where we stand now is the doors are wide open for non-union and union actors. However, we want to give those actors who are seeking unionized credentials, we want to give them that opportunity. So we will make that happen.
Right?
Right.
They have to do it to get it.
Right. You get kind of stuck in that rock and hard place. Yeah. So we are working to give that opportunity. And yes, to answer your question, there are union actors coming on board, and then there are the up and coming actors that just working nonstop and want that credential as well. And so I've gone out kind of just hand selected my cast and crew. I've just kind of watched their different works and piece my team together, if you will, rather than just holding this massive audition. One
movie that we saw a few years ago that the soundtrack really impressed us was Little Miss Sunshine, and the singer-songwriter, recording artist Sufjan Stevens. Yes. I don't know if you know him, but he contributed to that, or they selected some of his songs. But the thing I've wondered about is this: that when you listen to somebody like Alan Silvestri, who does scores, mm-hmm. and somebody who does like Sufjan Stevens, where it's kind of original and unique, it's almost like the songs that end up on a soundtrack mm-hmm. are quite often very unique, very new, something we haven't heard before.
Right.
But the score, it's almost like it's the exact opposite philosophy as the music industry tells recording artists to say, bring me something new. I don't want you to sound like somebody I've heard before.
Right.
But in the world of scores, it's almost like, you know what? I want it to sound like Silvestri, or I want it to sound like Bill Conti, right. or John Williams or something.
Right. Well, and it's really funny you say. I mean, because like for me, the iconic composers that I've looked up to growing up, are people such as Danny Elfman,
right.
Hans Zimmer, but I think to myself,
and those guys are songwriters as well as score writers.
I mean, Danny Elfman, let's go back to the 80s with both of these guys. I mean, Danny Elfman was the frontman of Oingo Boingo. Hans Zimmer was behind the first MTV, what was the Buggles?
Video?
Yeah, Video Killed the Radio Star.
Right.
So, yes, these guys were already just, frontmen, kind of electronica, new wave punk rockers, and then they went into that realm. And for me, going back and forth between soundtracking and scoring, or just writing a punk rock song or an electronica song, I mean, I get it, it makes sense. But
so what's the big challenge for you? I mean, you're doing everything. You're doing the music, you're doing the videography. Where is the area that you felt like, wow, I'm getting this. I'm picking up on this? Because some things probably came naturally, and other things you maybe had a learning curve.
I think the most fun part for me was when my assistant director and I, Ryan James, when we started creating kind of just almost just test film sample teaser trailers. And we were using this to actually basically get producers' attention, get investors' attention. And the thing is now our producers and investors, we don't even have this stuff online because there's like, no, let's keep it under wraps.
Really?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. but the cool thing was for me was actually that point of getting those shots and then editing those shots and creating a feel when you looked at the film that you said to yourself, oh my God, this looks like an old VHS 70s, action film. How did you do that? And you think to yourself, well, I spent weeks working on these just 30-second, 1-minute elements, So, I mean, that to me was really fantastic. Now, the cool thing too was it was completely silent. There was nothing there. So then the next objective was, all right, now let's add sound to it. Now let's, make it, really interesting, make it, really, really gritty, I guess, if you will, to give that element, to create that illusion.
Robert said is your movie Mr. White? Is that your movie?
No, my film, that was Erica Summers' film, Mr. White. I was just
and you worked on
super honored to be a part of her cast and crew, and that was actually, if it wasn't for Erica Summers, I'm going to say this, Erica, I love you, very much respect. If it wasn't for Erica Summers and what she did following everything that I went through with the accident, following that still point, if you will, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. We wouldn't be having this chat.
So when do we see, and how will we see the new movie?
The new movie we do plan to hit theaters with this film. We do plan to also hit the internet market with this film. Like I was saying before, we are in that developmental phase, so we are looking at a few months to go before we get that solid green light from our core producers, from our investors, to lead us into pre-production. So, I mean, right now, realistically, it's probably going to be somewhere around 2015. And just depending upon...
I bet you can't wait.
Oh, I'm
That's like having
excited.
A child born, right? When you find out, you got 9 months.
Pretty much. I mean, and the thing is there's so much going on. There's so much going on as far as the production, the pre-production, the post-production, the core filming, all the phone calls, all the emails. It's just nonstop. I mean, you find yourself getting just a few hours of sleep every day. Just okay, and then of course you wake yourself up because you realize you forgot something, so you're back to work again. At the computer, or with a guitar in your hand, or at the keyboard, or something.
Wow, you're really you're involved with everything.
Is a 333? Is it the words spelled out, or is it numerals, or how do you do the 333? Is that an event?
Yeah, it's actually with the film 333, really to break it down in cool simplistics, because a lot of people had, asked me, there's various ideas, and everybody kind of came up with their own opinion and idea about it, but really it's 3 short stories, if you will, all intertwined in one movie, all within 1 hour and 30 minutes on screen. So, once again, that element of, let's say, like Frank Miller / Robert Rodriguez's Sin City, or even with Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, where you had the element of just multiple stories going on, but somehow everybody either touched base or, crossed paths, whether it was a bar, or, a certain scenario. That's the element that my approach is on 333. Now, spelling 333, it's the number 3, and then it's spelled 30, THIRTY, and then 3 is THR number 3. So it kind of has that look of, it all just intertwines.
3s look like E's, don't they, a little bit?
Right.
So where do you come from? And I don't mean physically. I mean, let's see, if we had a home movie of you when you were 6 or 7 years old, what were you doing? What were you playing with on the living room floor? How did that person become this person? What were you doing back then?
I was super absorbed in film. I mean, it was so cool. Like, I mean, some of my best memories, like growing up with my folks, even, you know, was always, you know, weekends at the movies, or sitting on the couch and watching, you know, Don Johnson and Miami Vice, or you know, watching the A-Team, watching Knight Rider. Seeing RoboCop and all these incredible.
So were you
films.
saying I want to do that, or I want to be in them?
I wanted, yeah. I remember the first time, like right after watching Ghostbusters, I was creating my own kind of, you know, Ghostbuster look, and, you know, the backpack and everything, you know, and even like Back to the Future and all those iconic films of the 80s. I mean, it had so much cool influence, and then even the cartoons. I mean, you had He-Man, you had G.I. Joe, you had Transformers, you had Thundercats, and so I mean, everything, even from the music element, of just remembering all those different soundtrack pieces, just to the actual visual. I don't know. It just had a huge effect on me.
That's interesting. I always like asking that kind of a question, because I think we have a theory, Robin and I, that if you could see the home movies of anybody, you'd probably see them doing something similar to what they're doing now.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because, you know, I mean, never.
I had a Mr. Microphone.
Growing up, you never thought about, like, oh, I want to be, you know, behind the camera, you know, putting to see. You wanted to be that character, you know, and I even. I'm trying to be, you know, the Incredible Hulk or Spider-Man, and next thing you know, you get a broken arm. Or,
so what's your name? Your name, is that your real name, Barcode?
Oh, well,
no.
No, that's that. We'll say that for the next time I come on your show.
Oh, really? It's a secret.
But yeah, that's
so if I go to
whole other dynamic there.
Your yearbook doesn't show.
Yeah, no.
Is Brody your real name?
Nah.
No, that's not even your real name.
Yeah, no.
Well, you have the barcode emblem on your Reverb Nation page.
Right.
It's right
yes,
there.
that was, yeah. But I mean, that was something that the nickname came about probably 9 years ago, Brody, and then so I ended up getting stuck with it, and oh, thank you. And then Barcode, that came along not too long after through.
Right. So what could we have been in our generation? Copyright symbol. It could be, you know, Kim copyright symbol.
That's right.
or Robbie registered.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. Robbie registered.
Brody Barcode is in the studio. He has impressed us with 20 minutes of chatting with us about what he does. It's an amazing list of things that he does, and everything associated with making a movie is what you do, from the music to the writing to the directing, everything, the acting. We only have a couple minutes. What is Code Wave Productions, and what is that's just your company, I'm assuming?
Yes, sir. Code Wave Productions LLC. That is my production company.
So the thing we want to look forward to, are there any casting calls we can help you out with? Mention it on the air and maybe send a bunch of actors your way, or actresses?
Right at this moment, no casting calls right at the moment. However, I mean, for anybody out there listening, anybody that, you know, wants to get involved with my production team as well as myself, whether you're producers, whether you're investors, whether you're crew, cast, please feel free to get in touch with me via Facebook, and that would, or even Twitter. There is 333 Volume 2 Facebook fan page online. There's also,
and I just, by the way, friended you on there.
Oh, thank you.
I just went there. I think I went to the right one. Brody, yeah, it says 333 on it. Oh, it's yours, Brody Barcode. Okay, I said I sent you a.
Oh, thank you so much.
Being my friend thing.
I will be your friend.
By the way, Ryan has been with us before, Ryan James, and so he's one of those guys that is the stage and film, right?
Yes,
yeah, so
yes. That right there, Ryan is a prime example of
one of those guys.
One of those guys that you'll see him on Broadway, and you'll see him on the big screen.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Or behind the camera. I mean, him and I have so much work still to come. We back and forth nonstop.
Brody, you're another example of how Ocala has, as a small town, impressed us unbelievably, especially in the performance arts. the talent that we have here in performance arts is outstanding. I don't know what's the explanation for that, but you're another example of it. Brody, thank you for coming in and sharing what you do with us.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I look forward to it.
You come back.
Very, very good. It was a good interview. Yeah. All right, and we've recorded it so you can share it on your Facebook page.
Oh, sweet.
All right.
Sweet.
We've got to move forward. We've got Fox News coming up, and then Dr. John W. Grace will be in the studio. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The president reaffirming our commitment to Japan in its standoff with China over disputed islands. But there's been no deal between our two countries for Pacific Rim Trade Pact.
The president said both nations need to overcome